Hey guys, welcome back to a new series of the Tap and Go. Matt and I here, hoping to bring you a new guest lineup with some pretty good speakers, some pretty interesting guys. And we're going to try and give you a big variety this season. Today we're joined by Australian Sevens captain and Olympian, Nick Malouf. Nick, how are we?
I'm really good. How are you guys?
Yeah, very well, thanks.
Very well.
So I guess we want to start off with obviously your sevens because that's I guess your main thing, and obviously the big topic of the past I guess 18 months is the coronavirus, and especially in the sevens world, how much it's impacted the whole sevens game. So what's it been like with the postponing of the World Series and I guess almost every fixture because of it?
Yeah, initially you realize that it's been over a year since we've been able to play on the World Series, which personally, and I know a lot of guys have struggled and really missed. I think you almost didn't realize how much you enjoyed being able to travel and play in front of big crowds every couple of months until it was taken away from us. From the perspective of our squad, we've tried to look at it as a positive, and I think it's actually been a really good time for the sevens program within the framework of Australian rugby, because it's allowed guys to play some 15s. At the moment, we've got Lockie Anderson, Giral, Skelton, and Louis Holland down at the Rebels. Tim Anstey's been at the Force, and he's just been named in the Wallaby squad. And the rest of the guys played a full season of Shoot Shield in Sydney and were really impressive. So for us, it's actually allowed the program to sort of be put back in the spotlight, not because of what we've been able to do on the sevens pitch, but actually what we've been able to show the 15s guys. So we've tried to take positives like that out of it, as challenging a period as it's been.
You talk about those guys who have gone to play 15s. Do you think that there's potentially aspects that they're going to picked up from the 15s game and now can potentially bring back to sevens game, and like potentially a way that Australians side could differ from the others?
Yeah, I think the good part about 15s, I know when I spent time at Leicester, I mean, you're just involved in a new environment, learning off other guys, you're challenging yourself in a different way. I think sevens is probably what's going to put your skills under the microscope more than anything else. But it might just be learning some different techniques at the ruck, or just getting more out of the collisions that you're naturally going to get more of in a 15s game. So yeah, they would have picked up a couple of things, but I think just being in a different environment, and I know speaking from my personal experience, it just brings more out of you, refreshes you, and makes you hungrier to come back.
And you spoke of that environment. Is there a big difference in terms of like the squad environment, not just sort of like the playing style and obviously the technique and everything?
Yeah, well, sevens is such an intimate relationship with everyone, because there's 20 guys in a squad, there's 13 of you touring. You form such close relationships with everyone that's in the squad. I guess when you go to 15s, then you can almost get lost. I might not see a second row or a prop because I'm just doing backs units, backs meetings, backs gym sessions, everything's split, right? So you might not see some of those big units for, I don't know, you might run into them at the start of the day, and then as you're passing them in the locker and out on the field, and that might be it. Whereas we're just constantly having those interactions in the sevens environment.
Yeah, sure. And so I guess we want to talk about, I guess Freddie mentioned it, you're the captain of the Aussie Sevens, which is awesome, and it's amazing to be able to talk to you about it. So I guess, what's it like, I guess, so you spoke about this intimate relationship, so I guess the captaincy must be different, and that must be almost perhaps more personal and more relationship. Is that true?
Yeah, I think my leadership style is one that leans on and tries to create those really close relationships. From my perspective, I will always go into bat for anyone in the team, no matter what it is. And that's, if they need me off the field, we've got we've got that close relationship that we can lean on. And then if I need them like on the field when it's a big pressure moment, then I know I can lean on them, vice versa. So I think the backbone for what I really like as a captain is knowing that I'll go into bat for you. Tell me everything. I will help you no matter what. As long as when we get out on the field, you give me everything back in return.
And just looking sort of at it from the point of like the two different codes, obviously you've played a bit of 15s, you were at Leicester for a little bit. Captaining a 7 side, how different is that to captaining a 15s, like an approach you take as well?
I haven't had any experience captaining a 15s side, but yeah, I can only talk from a 7s perspective, but yeah, there'd probably be a lot more pressure week to week on a 15s guys. They're in the spotlight constantly, having to deal with the external stuff a lot more. I'm probably lucky in the fact that I don't have to worry about the external stakeholders of the game putting pressure on your performance every week so much. I can actually just put all my energy into getting the most out of the team, and ensuring that we're in a really good place without having to do all that other stuff, which I'm sure would be quite time consuming and just emotional energy consuming as well.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant to clarify sort of what you picked up from other people who you've played under compared to yourself.
Yeah.
In the different codes.
Well, Tom Youngs at Leicester, he's just like a super nice guy off the field, but as soon as you get on the field, he just expects you to do your job and be brutal, and I guess it's the way he plays, right? So he sort of expects that of everyone else, because he's the one that's leading by example. At the Waratahs, it was Michael Hooper, a really good communicator, and once again, someone that just, you know what you're going to get every time you step out on the field with him. I remember my first game for the Tars, looking over at him in the sheds, and I could just see him basically going from calm and communicating and all that sort of thing. And then he just flipped the switch where I was just like, this guy's looks like he's transforming into the Hulk in front of me. Like he's just going through that process of, okay, it's game time now. Like we're about to get serious. So yeah, it's been interesting seeing how guys captain, and I'm not particularly trying to copy anyone, but I think it's good to take little bits and pieces from other guys.
Your captaincy has been described as, in just quoting here, you're a leader with strong team values, authentic care, and an unrelenting pursuit to be better. Is that something you sort of pride yourself on? Your drive, you're always, you can improve in some way.
Who said that?
I can find the article
That's
for you if you give me a second, but that was taken. Let me find the article. But yeah, is that, if you answer the question, why I do?
I can't actually remember what the words you just said. Sorry.
It's,
no, yeah, Matt, you say.
It's a leader with his strong team values, authentic care, and unrelenting pursuit to be better.
I would say that's pretty accurate. I think, yeah, what I touched on earlier, the care for the guys in the squad is a big one for me, and how we build that foundation of wanting to actually work towards a common goal. In terms of the pursuit of, I'm not sure what the exact word was.
To be better.
Pursuit of something. To be better, yeah. Yeah, I'm incredibly motivated. I have been I've been a part of teams, and I've also been at stages in my career where I not coasted, but I was just content and probably didn't push myself. And I look back at those times, and just knowing that I was capable of more. and I just don't want to miss out on what I know myself and the squad is so capable of. So that's probably the reason that, if the external seeing that as well, then that's how I feel.
So that was Tim Walsh just after you announced you were up for Tokyo.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's
he,
on that.
He knows me pretty well.
Yeah, no, and I mean that's quite a good bridge. So we now want to, obviously you went to Rio 2016, and you've now got Tokyo this summer, hopefully, unless coronavirus decides to pick its head back up. Looking back at Rio first, what sort of lessons can you guys take from that experience? I'm not sure how many of the squad are hopefully going to Tokyo, but you obviously got to a poor start. I think you lost to France in the opener.
Yeah.
And sort of what sort of lessons can you take from those?
Well, I can probably split the question up into two parts: personal and team. From a team perspective, I don't want to talk too negatively about Rio, but I think looking back, obviously it was disappointing, right? We came 8th. We knew that we should have done a whole lot better than we did. Possibly just our preparation. I know this time, and because I'm in the everyday environment of the current sevens program, just the preparation that we're doing currently for Tokyo, I just feel like I can't remember it being quite that intense in terms of just homework on other teams, preparation for different scenarios on the field, whether that be yellow cards or we've got a line out here with 30 seconds to go, and this is the score. What are we doing? And just knowing all the answers to how a New Zealand going to play, how a Fiji going to play, what's this individual player likely to do in this situation, what's his default, all those things, I just can't remember quite the detail. I think the other thing was it was the first time that rugby had been in the Olympics, right? So everyone's like, holy shit, like we're at the Olympics. Like what is going on? Like this is crazy. Are we even meant to be here? Like, is this a dream? And I think I probably, I'll admit I probably got caught up in that. And I just couldn't believe that, wow, we're actually here. And then realized, well, we actually have to play. It's not just here to participate, like we're here to win. And going on to more of that personal experience, I had a lot of trouble with my knees in the lead up to Rio with an ACL just under a year out, and then a subsequent meniscus injury about 6 weeks prior. And I thought I was all right. I was training okay. Like my body wasn't really holding me back in the training. But then as soon as we got out on the field, I just couldn't execute what my mind wanted to be able to. So for me, that was disappointing because I thought I was right. And I've always felt like responsible because I couldn't perform the way I wanted to. So that was disappointing for me, knowing that I had that impact on the team, that I couldn't play as well as I wanted to.
Yeah. And I want to quickly just go back to that team bit where you're saying this is sort of like the most preparation you've done for looking at other teams and other players and so on. Who would you say spearheading this? Would you say it's the players, the Rugby Australia setup, or yourself or the coach, or like where's this stemmed from?
Yeah. Well, we're super lucky that we got Walshy as our coach, and he's been there and come away with the biggest prize in the gold medals with the women in Rio. So he's super familiar with what it takes and I guess the whole Olympic setup. His style as a coach is one that he just wants to know that there's no stone unturned in the preparation. And if if we know everything that we could have known and we've prepared the best we could have, then ultimately it's up to the players to go out and execute the game plan. And like we're training every day, so hopefully that should just fall into place and not be an issue if everyone just does their job. So he's the one that is, I guess, the one that is putting the emphasis on the preparation, but the players are the ones that present it. So we've gone through a couple of teams so far, and each player will get an opposition player and an area of their game to analyze, and then the boys will present it back to the rest of the squad, and from there we'll formulate a game plan for the opposition. So yeah, it's really good because it means that the boys are buying into the game plan, because we're ultimately the ones that have come up with it by doing the research, looking at the video, knowing the players. And when you're the one that's come up with it and it's not someone telling you, you actually want to go out there and execute it, right? It's not just a teacher-student relationship. We're all working together, coming up with it. We've got the buy-in of the group, and that's how we've been doing that for a while now and seeing really good results from it. So yeah, that's how we're going about, and I guess where it came from.
That's really interesting hearing sort of, as by getting everyone to buy and getting everyone involved, it sort of should help create the intensity and everything you need to hopefully be successful. Just to touch on something else, you obviously mentioned that you went to the Olympics, the overall like awe of being at the Olympics, like, whoa, we're here. Have you got, we spoke to Hutch obviously a couple of series ago, and he's told a particular story about the Netherlands house. I was wondering if you had any other memories of Rio that you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, shocked that that's what he picked. For me, it was the opening ceremony. I remember, so the stadium's there, and then there's like a secret path underneath into the stadium, and all the countries are lining up outside. And I can just remember hearing over the stadium's speaker system, they said us like, "Welcome Team Australia," and then like we start walking underneath, and just the noise, and like it was just crazy, because as a kid growing up, all I watched was the athletes walking around whatever stadium it was that the Olympics was held at, and seeing like them walking around waving like crazy, not knowing where to look, wearing their Australian Olympic uniforms. And then all of a sudden I was in that position. And I can still see it so like vividly today and clearly. And it was just like an awesome experience to have to actually be there, and when I'd watched it so many times on the TV. The other time was, well, yeah, the food hall is just crazy. There's just so many athletes of different shapes and sizes and countries all mixing as one, and the food hall itself would be like 6 rugby fields, like just on top of each other. It's so big. The most famous person we saw in the food hall was Usain, and it was just like a revolving door of people walking up to him with their phones out, take a selfie, and then they'd just like fall off the back. It was like in cycling, you know how one person goes to the front and then they just fall off the back? Mate, it was like that. And he just didn't break stride. He just kept walking, and someone would come in, photo, peel off the back. Next one in, photo, peel off the back. It was pretty funny. But yeah, he's obviously a superstar. Yeah, exactly.
Were you one of them?
No, I wasn't game. That there was already about 50 people behind him walking, so I left that one.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's the Olympics are past, so now looking forward to Olympics of future. Obviously, you've got Tokyo. I want to look at Tokyo, and just firstly from the venue, the country, but also from the rugby side of it. Obviously, we saw what they did with the Rugby World Cup in 2019. Are we expecting more of the same? It's just going to be they're mad for it. They love it.
Yeah, that's what we're all hoping for. I think even if you look at the top league and the players that they're attracting in Japan at the moment, rugby's just booming over there. So for us, it's super exciting because we're playing in a great stadium, hoping that there'll be heaps of locals there to be able to cheer us on and support rugby. I think it's going to be a fantastic spectacle off the back of the Rugby World Cup and the current interest in the top league.
And so do you think so? Obviously, we spoke about the opening ceremony in the food hall, and unfortunately, we probably can't see it being exactly the same as it was before. Is this something that you sort of, I guess, sort of prepared for, almost, to sort of expecting that it's going to be a different kind of spectacle?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's under any illusion that it's going to be pretty different. We're well aware of that. There's only really Hutch and myself that have been to an Olympics before in the current squad. Oh, sorry, Louis as well, when he will come back. So from that sense, they're probably not, it's almost good because they're not going to know any different. And ultimately, we just want a chance to compete. A gold medal is still a gold medal. It might just be a gold medal that didn't have an opening ceremony attached to it. I'm pretty sure I could tell you that all the guys would rather have a gold medal than go to an Olympic ceremony. So yeah, we're trying to talk through those things and understand how it's going to be different. We also don't want to bombard guys because, to be honest, we actually don't know what it's going to look like either. And I don't think the Australian Olympic Committee or the IOC even knows completely yet. So the good part about COVID is everyone's just become so adaptable, right? So we're just trying to channel that, and when we get to the village, we're just going to have to play it how it is and deal with it as all the countries are going to.
Do you think having no international fans, obviously they announced that it's only the Japanese will be, do you think that's going to have a big impact?
Potentially on some sports that the Japanese don't like, but I think rugby should be pretty safe. Back to the question before, that they're super passionate about the game, so I think they should be filling it out, and rugby sevens is arguably even more exciting than 15. So yeah, I'm sure they'll get around it.
Now I'm looking at for the rugby. Obviously, as it is the World Series, seven is such an unforgiving format. Because if you say like you guys in 2016, if you lose your first game, you're immediately on the back foot. Do you think, just from my personal perspective, I'm quite excited because there hasn't been a World Series this year. It's almost a blank slate. There's been no preparation, very little match times. One of the most open competitions to date. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. But it's almost like everyone's gone into hiding, and no one knows what everyone has been planning for the last year. So unlike any year previously, you'd get to see what combinations are working, who their new players are, have they changed their style of play. We just don't know any of these things, and so I'm sure teams are trying to get footage of other teams playing domestic tournaments, and there was a tournament in Dubai recently where a couple of teams played. So yeah, I'm sure all the coaches and the analysis teams will be scratching up that footage to see, well, who's running around in there and that sort of thing. But it's going to be open as you find the majority of the sevens tournaments are. If you get off to a bad start, it's pretty hard to come back because there's just not enough time. So as always, consistency of performance is going to be at the forefront, and who can consistently put 6 games of really good rugby together, particularly in the quarterfinal, semi-final matches where the pressure's on and you're trying to, in the quarter, give yourself a chance to play for a medal, and then that semi to give yourself a chance to play for the gold medal. Yeah, it's going to be like sevens on steroids because it's just going to be so uncertain.
How do you train for that in training for those quarterfinal and semi-final, sort of like the games that are as like almost as necessary and essential to win as a final, but you don't get the gold medal at the end of the game?
Yeah, that's the question that I wish I could answer easily, but honestly, how do you replicate that? It's so hard. Like you can put all you want on the line, say, all right, like you can try and apply pressure in different ways at training, bringing different people in, changing a different stimulus, putting like a penalty, for example, like a fitness on the end if this isn't achieved or something like that. But nothing can replicate that. So I think it's just belief that you're capable of being in those big games and performing, and like a really good understanding of how you want to play and what your role is, so that when the heat comes on and the pressure comes on, you've done it so many times that you just default to what you know, which is your role and the game plan. Because it's if you were to go out and try and simulate the pressure, it's impossible. You just can't do it. So yeah, we're trying to do is ingrain patterns, your role, that sort of thing. And when the heat comes on, if we default to that, then that's all we can ask.
Yeah. If you're a betting man right now, as we talked about the openers, which teams do you think are going to be going in that gold medal match? Any surprise packages who you might have more knowledge on this than us could potentially cause an upset?
Well, yeah, it's who's going to be playing us. It'll be, yeah, I'd say it's the usual suspect. New Zealand have been able to play quite regularly some domestic tournaments. Fiji, there's a sevens tournament on every weekend. So it's not like those two will be short of game time. South Africa are always in the mix as well. So look, I think it'll be one of those three teams against us.
Obviously, we've had a few of the GB guys on here. Obviously, they've had a very tricky 12 months, but they're still capable of posing a threat. Would you say so?
Definitely. And I think if you look back historically, well, England and probably GB always seem to turn up in the big tournaments. The Com Games, last Olympics, they're always a threat in the big tournaments. So yeah, it's for sevens. It's awesome to see that they've been able to come together and start training, which is fantastic. And yeah, I've left them out of that equation because I was probably thinking more England and Scotland and Wales as separate entities. But yeah, throw them all together and they'll be a threat as well.
And you must obviously approach GB as differently as if you were playing against England or Scotland or Wales. Like is it almost a totally different team, would you say, or?
Yeah, I mean, you know how guys individually are going to play and what they offer. It's just up to their head coach how he brings that together, I suppose. Much like the rest of the teams, we haven't seen GB, but I also haven't seen South Africa play. I also haven't seen Fiji or New Zealand play in a year. So it's just going to come back to a lot of individual analysis on the player. And I think if you know what the player is going to do, then you can sort of figure out what shapes and patterns they're going to be playing as a team.
And so I want to slightly move on from the topic of the upcoming Olympics or so. And I guess you mentioned about how you had 15s experience and 7s experience, but I guess they say the training in 7s is on a completely another level. Like you get pushed to sort of your deepest, darkest place and you get caught in this almost cave. How do you personally sort of, I guess, manage that and sort of push through it, as you said, every day of the week?
Well, I used to struggle. That's right. I used to struggle. And I think it's probably something that as you get deeper into your career, you come to terms with, but become more comfortable with. because you know ultimately if you want success, you're going to need to get into that place and then perform in that place as well. I'm not sure it's ever easy, and I don't think anyone ever, if anyone tells you that they enjoy it while it's happening, they're lying to you. But I think you can understand and enjoy and appreciate the end result of why you need to do it and what it offers you in terms of being able to execute something in the 14th minute of a game. Yeah, there's not too much else I can say on that. Yeah, the training is super hard sometimes, but it's part of it, isn't it?
And I guess what's a typical fitness test almost? Just a picture sort of the hardship that you guys go through.
Our standard test at the moment is the yo-yo, but we've done, which is, if you don't know, like it's a variation of the beep test where you, it gets a lot quicker than the beep test early, but you get 10 seconds rest in between each rep, which sounds nice, but that 10 seconds is probably where you realize how cooked you are. So we do that. We've done Broncos at various other times, and there's lots of different ways that they find to torture us. But the yo-yo is probably our standard, and I think our highest score recently was 22. And so, yeah, I think we had the top couple of guys in the whole of, well, we definitely got the fittest player in Australian rugby, and I think we might have even had the top three. So
who's that?
Which is good. Josh Turner was the fittest.
Wow, fair enough. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's sort of a fantastic insight to, I guess, what we've had and I guess what we look forward to in the next few months. So thank you very much, Nick, for jumping on our podcast. I've personally fascinated about the sevens world and how sort of crazy it gets, especially in training. But yeah, thank you. And we got my fingers crossed for you guys in the upcoming Olympics. So yeah, cheers.
Thank you very much, guys. It was great to have a chat.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on.
Come on! Come on!
Thanks for listening to the Tap and Go podcast. I'm Guy Thompson and I'm a Looseheads ambassador, the mental health movement normalising the conversation in rugby. Head over to looseheads.co.uk and get 15% off at the checkout now with code TAP and GO. Take care.